Hello, my name is Alan Costa and I'm a producer at NIS America. We started translating games into French several years ago. It started with our big titles like, I think Disgaea. Then we also did Bleach. And then after that we had a challenge, which was Danganronpa V3. As you know, Danganronpa V3 is a visual novel and there is so much text. Over 2 million Japanese characters. That said, we have a very strong team who is run by a person who lives in Japan. He's French. And he has lived there for, I believe, almost 20 years now. He manages the project, under us, of course. We don't translate from English to French. We translate from Japanese to French. And we think that's very, very important because that keeps it really close to the original language. This year, what we're challenging for is Trails of Cold Steel 3. This game is actually bigger than Danganronpa 3. It has more characters. But because we have such a strong team that we trust, we believe this is going to be a great game for the fans too. And of course, in the future, whenever we can, we want to bring out games in French. Unfortunately, things are kind of still where they are last year. At the moment, the only place to get our collector's editions are in the NIS America Europe online store. So we still need to work maybe a little more to make those more available out here to consumers in France. However, we actually, some of the titles we're releasing this year have a special version for retail, like Trails of Cold Steel 3, that will have some bonuses. And then a game called Lapis Labyrinth, which is coming out for PlayStation 4 and for Switch, will also be a collector's edition that you can purchase at the stores here in France. Well, in a way, it shows where everyone in the industry is going, meaning digital is getting stronger and stronger every year. And every territory we visit, obviously we're based in America, but we go to Japan often to meet with our Japanese partners. We come to Europe very often. Interestingly, some countries are much quicker than others. I believe in North America and the United Kingdom, it's very, very quick. It's moving towards digital. However, in other countries like Japan, in Spain, it's still very slow. But we all know the direction it's going. That said, particularly for games like we release, Japanese games, a lot of the fans love physical releases. And so we always want to bring a physical release out to those fans who have it. In terms of Gamestop itself, in America, nowadays, a lot of their stores are half video games and half merchandise. So that's one thing they're trying to do. Game stores are maybe having comic books, maybe they're trying to create like a half game store, half esports space, but basically we're all facing the same challenge and we all have to learn how to adapt. I can't say that there is one special thing about Longest 5 Minutes. It kind of worked out that way. Actually, it would have been great to do some other games too. It's pure chance that it happened to be the Longest 5 Minutes. I'm not current exactly on the numbers, but I believe over here in France and in Europe in general, strong sellers were Persona 4 Golden. Dragon's Crown did really well for us. Of course, Disgaea 4 did pretty well. Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2 had decent numbers. Those... and of course Danganronpa. The Danganronpa games are huge. I think there's two. One is pick up and play games that you can play for 10, 20 minutes and then you can kind of put it away. So like if you're on a train or you have a little bit of time. So a good example would be like what we're releasing this year, Lapis Labyrinth or the Princess Guide. The second game is visual novels. I always thought that people would want to relax on their couch, put their legs up, drink some wine, and play visual novels. No, most people want to play visual novels on their handheld. I don't want to go too deep into the past, but looking at our past, we had some issues with previous games, and we don't want to make the same mistakes. At the moment, we haven't announced anything about any other platforms. We're focusing on PlayStation 4, but whatever we decide to do in the future, we're going to make sure that it's appropriate and proper, and it fits the platform really well, and it's properly executed. Got down on the ground. Basically, you know, we had a working relationship since East 8. That was our first one. As I said, I don't want to go too much into the past, but there was several issues with that game. That said, I think we really tried hard to overcome what was there. We pledged to ourselves first, to our fans, and then to Falcom as well, that we will treat their games like our children and do the best that we can for them and give them what they deserve. And so I believe that, you know, that really showed through to Falcom, and they decided to work with us again. So we're very happy about that. We actually try not to make big announcements at Gamescom or at E3, simply because we're not the biggest publisher. And we want our announcements to be heard, not drowned out over the bigger publishers. So we try to focus on times when there's maybe a less amount of news for us to do our announcements. That said, of course we're going to be at E3. Of course we're going to be at Gamescom. We love you guys out here in France. We want to do more in French, and so I understand how you feel. And whenever we can, we will try to bring games out into French. So thank you so much for your support.